punctures bicycle tires along bike trails in the county. One of the great things about this program is you get some of these little tiny projects that are really progressive, and this was one of them. There's also the county carpool program is on here. The rideshare program for $1,000, which is being run by HR. It's already actually on the ground and operating, but it's a good program to see started in this county, one of the few carpool programs in the county. And there's also an electric vehicle for the city of Willits, a CNG Honda Civic for general services, and some other interesting projects. General restrictions on the funds, they do need to be going to projects that reduce the impact of the automobile. And that's a very broad area. One of the things the state has underlined to us several times is they cannot go for general maintenance expenses, ongoing maintenance expenses. It has to go to a specific project that you can document the air quality reduction from. And all of these projects meet that requirement. With that, we'll be open for questions.
Comments from board members? Members of the public? Anybody from the public want to speak on this issue? Supervisor Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Brown, if you could just delineate, it seems like there is no public comment nor board comment at this time. If there's a recommended action of a 1 and 2, if you could just sort of quickly delineate the difference of those two before us.
Oh, yeah, that's on the staff report. You get that?
It's on the cover of the agenda
yeah.
summary.
The first recommended action, there's actually 2 recommended actions. The first recommended action is to approve the funds listed in Table 1, which I talked about earlier, for Round 1 funding, and to transfer the funds from the district's fund balance. That would be the first recommended action. The second recommended action is for the Round 2 projects, and this would authorize the district to enter into the contracts to get the projects ready to go. However, a second conversation with the board would need to occur to transfer the funds from the district's fund balance. So there's actually 2 actions in front of you, one for the Round 1 projects, one for the Round 2 projects. And there are 2 projects that straddle. There's $9,000 for DOT. We couldn't fully fund the Grace Hudson project in the first round. And there's also, I forget the exact amount, but City of Fort Bragg has a hybrid that they would like to purchase, and that funding also straddles the amount. And I did have a conversation with the city about that. They would not be able to go forward with the project until they got the Round 2 funding because of the funding situation there is.
So we would basically be setting up that Round 2 expenditure, but there would be a follow-up on a board discussion.
Yeah, there would be a consent item we'd come to you with, like I said, either later this year before July 1 or perhaps next year. Once we see the revise of the budget and make sure that our funding streams are going to be continuing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Why, just briefly, why was the Office of Education's request basically approved over the, say, like the, basically your Cal Palace School project?
Well, I looked at...
It seems to me like the Office of Education budget's a heck of a lot bigger than our Department of Transportation. I'm just curious to why it was for a teleconferencing project. It seems like, I don't know, it just seems to me like a Safe Routes to School project would come as a higher priority.
Well, we looked at, when I looked at that project, one of the problems we've had in the program, and the board's discussed this, we had a little bit of a discussion about it last time we were here, which was about 15 months ago, I think, is the geographic equity. We tend to see projects that are in Ukiah. We tend to see projects that are Ukiah, Willits, Fort Bragg. And I looked at the Office of Education project, and I actually talked to Paul Titchen about it. And, this is a project that would most likely benefit the more remote schools. It would keep their staff, and it would keep social services and regional center staff from having to drive to Ukiah to have meetings. They would be able to teleconference. They were looking at Round Valley, and I know they've been talking to GSA as well about sharing part of the microwave system to get this accomplished. But the original request was $100,000, which I did feel was just too much. That would have been all the money we had in round one. So we tried to find a way to give them some funding without allowing them to do something, and that's where Paul kind of gave me his range of options. You know, it's very difficult to cut somebody's funding back when you don't know if they could actually do something with the funding you're going to give them. And he said that this is the minimum amount of money they could use to get something done. Hope that made sense.
Supervisor McCallum.
Is there a third option to fund round one, fund the round two that is partially funded in round one, and accept new applications?
The board could do that, yeah. Funding-wise, I wouldn't be worried. You know, we made the decision to do $100,000 in round one and round two at the staff level before we did applications, because we wanted to get that out there so people are aware of it. I think the district is in a good enough funding situation at the moment that wouldn't be a problem to fund the split projects, if the board wanted to do that, and then we could do another RFP, and maybe combine it with next year's money and come back in the fall.
Thank you.
Chris, I don't support this configuration. For instance, MTA, you know, MTA doesn't have a problem with their capital budget. They're spending $6.5 million to build a fueling station. That's a proposal. So, you know, which in my opinion, a fueling station could be done and will be done if we get into alternate fuels, will be done at your local service stations that are already in place. So if they have $6.5 million to spend on capital, something like that, they can certainly basically buy their own hybrid buses. So, you know, I don't support this priority list. I would like to see the money go into the agencies. You know, I think like a Safe Roads to School program or something like that is, you know, that has a potential of actually saving one of our kids. So I don't support this list as it's proposed. I mean, it's not, to me, it's not taking away a hybrid bus from MTA, because like I say, they have $6.5 million they're moving forward with a proposal under their capital budget to build a fueling station. So for them to spend $24,000 on a hybrid bus is not taking away from them. I just think this money can be better utilized. So.
Yeah, and I don't know what restrictions Bruce has on his funding.
Well, anybody can apply
Yeah.
for this, and I understand that.
Yeah.
I just happen to know what some of these other budget, and it's not my, you know, I'm not taking away, as I say it again, if they have $6.5 million in capital dollars to spend on a fueling station, they can buy their hybrid bus, and we can use this limited air quality money for the other priorities, is my only point. For instance, a school bus for one of our schools, and I don't know, that's another problem I have. I don't see the city, or the school district of Laytonville and Willits last time around, they applied, but I don't see them applying this time.
Yeah, there's several different pots of money. They applied for the 1B bond money, which is a program the district doesn't run, but we do the outreach for.
Yeah.
And they did get funded, and then the bonds, of course, have not sold.
sold.
So they have an award letter and no funding, and they're waiting. But there was a number of buses, including, I think, several from Round Valley, which was something that I was real glad to see. We do have 2 buses on here for Mendocino Unified. I only recommended funding 1 because, again, the bond money is held, and we don't know how long that's going to be, the 1B money.
I guess, you know, I just can't support this list as proposed.
And the board has the ability to make changes to the list. I mean, this is just a staff recommendation.
Supervisor Colfax?
As the board representative to MTA, I think that we